All right, you guys, what is up? Welcome to another episode of the No Fun Zone podcast. If this is your first time joining us, you picked a good one. Today I got a guest. It's my big sister. And as the title of the podcast says, this is the No Fun Zone. We talk about some heavy issues, but we try and do it in a fun way. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy. If you haven't already, like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us, on Spotify, all that good stuff, wherever you get your podcasts at. And follow us on Instagram. And other than that, enjoy the show. All right, Brigid, thank you for coming on. First of all, how was the pandemic for you?
It was, oh God, it felt never ending. And then it felt like it went by really fast at the same time because every day was the same.
Everything just blurred together.
Yeah.
At first, I was kind of like, oh, I'm super introverted. This is going to be nothing. This is going to be fine. I'm enjoying myself. And then after like 4 weeks, it's just like, I could use a hug right now.
Yeah. I saw a funny meme that was like, the title was like introverts after 6 months of quarantine. And it's just someone sitting on a couch, just like glowing because they're radiating with like energy. Because it's like, oh, I finally recharged.
Yeah. Fully charged up.
See people.
Right. Oh,
I wonder, because if we're both introverts.
Yeah.
I wonder, because I guess I don't know how mom identifies. I find that she's pretty extroverted, but she might say otherwise. I don't know like what she needs to do to recharge, but I feel like dad was definitely an introvert.
Oh yeah, for sure. Most definitely.
Like dad definitely enjoyed his time to himself.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's sort of where we learned it from. But I think you and I are also, I think, what's the phrase? We're learned extroverts in a way.
Oh yeah. I call myself an introverted extrovert.
Yeah.
Where if I am, because I did theater, I did so many animal shows, and it's one of those things of like, if I know beforehand and I can get myself into the mental headspace where I can prepare myself and be like, all right, you're about to talk to a lot of people for a very long time. Then it's like, okay, cool. It's when the thing is sprung on me, when I'm not prepared for it, then I'm like, no, this is not what I want at all.
Yeah. But also both of us, I mean, we're not so introverted that, I mean, I don't know how to put it, I guess.
We have social skills.
Honestly, I think we have really good social skills.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like, when that's done, now I just need to go and do my own thing and not be around anybody. And
I never realized this, but remember when I would go off to SCP, the summer enrichment program camp?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, up in Greeley. I would go there for 2 weeks, and I never realized this until mom pointed it out, but mom told me, yeah, you would come home from SCP and you would shut yourself in your room for 3 days and not speak to anyone. She's like, because I think you were just like recharging. And that was when she pointed that out, then that was when I had the moment of like, oh, I do like being by myself. Yeah. And like, that was the first time where I realized like, oh, I am an introvert. Because I always thought as a theater kid, I must be an extrovert because I'm like, I want all this attention from these people that are looking at me on stage.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of performers, like Bo Burnham has said this, he is very much an introvert. He's doing a performance and he's comfortable. I mean, even what we're doing right now, we're technically making a podcast that we're going to put online for, I don't know, potentially 10 people to see eventually. I don't know. Hopefully more than that. No, but it's still like, you can still be a performer and be out there and be the center of attention for certain things. And then just go like, okay, that's me there. And then this is me when I'm at home. And they're two different people. And I feel like a lot of people think that like most comedians are just like constant extroverts and just like, oh, look at me, notice me. Oh, I want to be around everyone all the time. And I don't think most performers are like that. I think they're like, they get all of that sort of nervous energy out during the performance. And then they're just like, okay, now it's time to chill.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely do think that we got that from Dad, because Dad was same way.
Well, do you inherit introvert and extrovert terms, or like traits? Do you inherit those? Are you taught those?
I mean, everyone says, like in my behavioral genetics class in college, basically the rule of thumb is any complex human behavior, it's never one or the other. It's always a mix.
I've heard a really good phrase that from Brene Brown, where she says, nature loads the gun, environment pulls the trigger.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah. Like you have to have the right conditions for something to happen.
Yeah, totally.
And then you also have to be like predisposed for the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't know. I just don't know how introvert tendencies work. If those are something like innate, because it does have to do with like an essential need almost.
Yeah, either a need to be around people or a need to be alone.
Yeah, it's like that. It's an energy exchange. So it's like, do you get your energy from being around other people, or do you get your energy from being by yourself? And so it's like, how is that? I don't know how that's determined, if that's genetic or if that is taught.
I think it's probably just a mix of both. But I would think it's probably leans a little bit more towards like the nature side or the nurture side of things.
See, I would lean maybe more towards the nature side of things. Although nurture, maybe like, I don't know, thinking about like childhood stuff. Like is it a coping mechanism that you develop in childhood? Like, is that how you learn to get your energy, because that's what is available to you and that's what's like reinforced by others? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I feel like, when I was a kid,
right. It's probably both.
I mean, it has to be both. It has to be some combination, but it might lean heavily one way or the other. But I don't really know. But like when I was a kid, I was unbelievably shy and very just like, I was very much a loner. And then
you were also a really sensitive kid. I feel like
still am.
Well, yeah, but like, you know, you had a lot of big feelings.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I remember, I don't know if you remember this. One time we got some balloons from somewhere. We were young. And I remember thinking that like, oh, this would make Brigid happy if she had my balloons. So I gave you my balloons and you're like, oh yeah, you were all happy, and you went inside. And then I sat on the garage steps going up to like the laundry room and sat there and cried because now I was sad that I didn't have my balloons.
Yeah. Like I don't remember that, but Mom told me that story of like we both had a balloon and I let mine go.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
And so you gave me yours.
And then I was so sad that I didn't have my balloon anymore.
Yeah, and that makes me so sad because I'm like, oh, little Ryan, set your boundaries. Like,
so
you're also like, you were just like you were really sensitive kid, and I think you were really attuned to other people. Like, you know, this author that I love, Glennon Doyle, she has this argument that, you know, sensitive people like that, the people that have the big feelings in other cultures, they would be identified as like shamans or seers or advice givers, like councilmen in our society, because like you're a boy and you're not allowed to feel feelings. Right. Like you better be strong, tough man. We just squash that out of people.
Yeah. Suck it up, you pussy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I actually, that's funny that you say that, because that's become my role with so many of my friends, is like the advice giver and like the listener, and just like it ends up kind of being too heavy sometimes, and I have to be like, hey, I can't deal with your problems, I'm figuring out my own shit right now. And like I've learned how to do that, but I'm still like, I feel like people end up, for some reason, I remember when I was working in the shop, I almost like, I wanted to bring in like a therapist couch, because I had a constant rotation of like 4 or 5 different people that would come up and just like vent and bitch about the problems that they had with the other people. And then it would just be a rotation, and like this person would come up and say like, oh, this person's doing this and this person's doing that. And then 20 minutes later, same thing would happen with the person that they were talking about. And then it would switch to another person. And it was just like, and I would just sit there and just keep working and go like, yeah, no, so I think this is probably what it is. And yeah, I think this is, and I feel like, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Do you feel like you are a bit of an empath? Like, do you take on other people's feelings?
I'm more of a mentat. That's a reference to Dune. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of think so. I think it's more of like, I don't want people to be having a bad time.
Yeah.
I guess. I just want I want everything to be cool. I want all of us to just be in a good place. And like, I guess I am sort of an empath where it's just like, if other people are upset at like a party or something, I'm like, why? What's going on? Like, you're bringing me down because now I don't get to have fun because I see you not having fun. So what's going on?
Okay. So you're more of like, so you don't necessarily absorb other people's energy where it's like, if they're pissed or if they're sad, that doesn't make you sad. That just makes you kind of focus on bringing things back to like a homeostasis.
Well, I think maybe I think I do feel it and I don't want to feel it. So that's why I go, no, screw
into
that. You're not making me feel bad. I want us all to feel good. And like, even like at work when things are stressful, like, yeah, obviously you have your moments where you get heated or get pissed at someone. But for the most part, like even when things were bad and like if we were having a really rough day on the truck, I'd be like, my whole thought process is, okay, a couple things. Having fun is always more fun than not having fun. That's just a fact. So why don't just have more fun? Having fun is more fun than not having fun. And also, just because doing the job or doing what you're doing is shitty, if you react to the shittiness, you're just making it worse. Just if you just go like, yeah, this sucks, but let's make jokes and laugh about it, then it makes it suck less. And I think that's a very logical way of thinking about it. And there's people out there.
That's a very like kind of glass half full way.
I do think like, yeah. And I do think I am sort of an optimist for the most part.
Yeah.
Which also helps. But yeah, I don't know. I just, I don't want people to
It's just so interesting. It's just really interesting to me that like we had a dad that like could not express a single like feeling or emotion other than like, I think he did a good job at expressing joy. Like I've seen him, I saw him belly laugh, yeah, I remember that stuff, but like, the more vulnerable stuff he was not good with. And then to have a son who has so many big feelings and to also have a daughter who has so many I think I also had feelings and I think I repressed the feelings. And so they manifested in other ways. But like, yeah, I think we kind of grew up in a house that was like, didn't let us release the feelings as much as maybe we could have.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And also maybe something about it is maybe I let other people express their emotions so that way I don't have to. That might be something that's going on. Cause like I am still very like, I've learned to be way more open. And for the most part, I'm an open book, but I also don't like talking about like super serious stuff, except for with like a handful of people. So I have like very high guarded walls around me. And like, they're pretty close to who I am at a very core, but like most of myself is just out there. I'm just like, yeah, whatever you want to know. I don't care. It's fine.
Well, and actually now that I think about it, like mom is kind of everyone's fixer and advice giver.
Oh yeah,
like,
for sure.
I feel like everyone goes to mom.
Yeah.
Like even people that are not related to her will go to mom for advice.
Yeah.
So like maybe you get that from her.
Maybe. Also, part of it I think is I like helping.
Yeah. Well,
I'm a big fan of helping. Almost too much sometimes. Where you need to like set boundaries and be like, okay, I can't help you with this anymore.
Yeah.
But
a little bit overextending.
Oh yeah, like I mean, working powder days is a great example. I've always grown, I mean, both of us grew up with like really good work ethics, but my whole thing is like, hey, if somebody's working, I'm helping. And I would be like first one in, last one out. I'd always be the last person, like helping close registers, finishing things up, making sure everyone's good before I go clock out and do my own thing. Which that gets, again, probably need to set some boundaries on some of those things. But no, I mean, yeah, you're definitely right that Dad, he was funny. And like, that's how I think I connected with him, is trying to make him laugh, or just like through like humor, I guess.
But I also think that that's how he deflected.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah. I think like if things get too serious, he would crack a joke.
Oh yeah. I'm in that pile for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just like, nope. Don't want to deal with this. I'm just going to make light of the situation. Don't mind me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like Dad never really, I don't know. I feel like Dad didn't have anyone that maybe it's coming from, his childhood upbringing where, his mom was so detached from him when he was a young child. And like, those are the most important formative years.
Yes.
Like 2 through like 4, 2 through 5.
Even infancy, they're realizing now is super vital. And
so maybe he just didn't feel like he had anybody that he could trust enough to let them in.
Yeah.
Which is why,
I don't think he had a very like safe and stable childhood. He stable as in like he had resources, he had food, he had shelter, he had all that stuff, but like the emotional safety, I don't think he felt.
Yeah, and he definitely didn't get that from his stepbrothers and sisters. Like the rest of the family, just going from like kind of the nerdy kid who just liked to read, all of a sudden getting thrown in with basically child. All these maniacs. And just like, all right, here you go. Just like, and I'm sure Grandpa wasn't, I mean, it's like, how far down the tree branch do you go until you find the root cause? Because like, I'm sure Grandpa, I mean, World War II vet, had that in the 50s. Like, I'm sure it was not a very
school teacher.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. So like not dominant, but like assertive, I guess, and just like demanding.
Yeah, authority figure. Yeah,
totally.
Like, disciplined, very disciplined. Yeah.
So he definitely didn't get an emotional connection there, and then from his mom, didn't get the emotional connection there, and so like, who did he have to learn that sort of that ability to express your emotions from?
Yeah, and what's crazy is like, to me at least, is like all of this is pure speculation. Like, we cannot ask him like, hey, who are you most connected to in your childhood? Like, who, we just can't ask those questions.
Yeah. Again, this is why conspiracies are fun. Come up with theories and see if you have some evidence to support it and figure out where it goes. Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, overall, I think minus, maybe one like really severe incident. Overall, I think they both did generally pretty well with us. I mean,
yeah, there was like one thing that Dad could have done differently, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. There was something about like, I don't know, bathtub. And I don't know, maybe like a handful of, pills or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
For anybody who's listening who's wondering, our dad committed suicide.
Died by suicide.
Correct.
Yeah. We are changing the terminology.
It's all about the words. It's all about changing the lexicon.
That's the word. Lexicon. Very nice.
I don't know, but we were sort of talking about this when we were sort of planning on doing this episode, is like, I think we kind of we obviously definitely had two very different childhoods. But we also had, I feel like maybe this is another sort of potentially grasping at straws, but maybe because he didn't have a strong female figure in his life growing up, he felt it easier to connect with me on like the Boy Scouts and camping and race cars and stuff like that, where maybe he didn't know how to connect with you quite as much.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and obviously, you know, there's the adage that men and boys bond more by doing stuff with people,
Mm-hmm.
and women
Mm-hmm.
tend to bond more with communication and talking things through.
Mm-hmm.
And like we said, Dad was not the best at doing that kind of deep
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. What's interesting is like, you know, I think back and I don't remember any. That's not true. I remember one moment where I felt like really like connected to Dad. There was a point where I was like, you know, in the throes of my anxiety and depression, and there was a point where I was like really kind of breaking down and crying, and it was just like I think I asked for a hug, and I remember he just like kind of took me in his arms and kind of like held me. I was on the floor, and like that was I was just like, oh wow, like this is nice. And but it was something that I had asked for in a time of need. It wasn't anything that he like knew to offer.
Yeah.
But and just what's interesting is like, I don't remember, and maybe I have more and I just need to kind of like sift through, but I don't remember like big moments of connection like that. But I also never for a single minute doubted that he loved me. Like I knew he loved me.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's like I knew I had that foundation.
Yeah, same here. Like I don't really really remember having like a really good heart to heart or that sort of like emotional connection kind of moment. But yeah, I definitely knew that Dad loved the absolute shit out of both of us, out of all of us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think he showed it more, I guess, through actions.
I think his love language was gifts.
Yeah, when he would go on trips and just like, you know, at the end of the week come back and have just like a little toy, a little trinket.
I started that because apparently when he first started going on business trips, when I was like, I don't know, 2 or 3, I think it was before you were born, he would get home and I would be so mad at him that I would not talk to him for days. So he started bringing home gifts to bribe me to talk to him. So I started that. You're welcome.
Oh, I appreciate it. I got a lot of cool stuff out of that. Also, that's also a very much dad way, or our dad way of handling that situation. It's like psychologically, what can I do to increase their serotonin when I get home and make them like me? So I'm going to come home with treats. I'm going to have treats for them. I think Dad, he took the psychology thing and like Mom and I were sort of talking about this. He used psychology as parenting. And just like, okay, reward. How can I reward the good behavior? He almost like treated it almost like training. It's like, hey man, we're not dogs. Like
that's what Mom used to tell him. She used to be like, these are children. These are not rats in your lab. Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because when I started actually like really getting into training, I remember having arguments with him over like, because I think we got in this argument about barking with dogs. And I was like, well, if you capture that and you put it on SD, which is discriminative stimulus, or if you put that on cue, you're going to decrease that behavior because the animal knows, okay, I will only get rewarded when I am asked to do this behavior. And he was very adamant that that's not how it worked. And I don't even remember his argument about it, but I was just like...
It's also like, Dad, you got your degree in like the late 70s.
Yeah.
Things have changed.
You got your degree when Skinner was literally still publishing.
Yeah, things are a little different nowadays.
Yeah,
I don't know. Man, I guess it worked. We were both pretty good kids. You so much more than me. I was surface level good, but I was sneaky.
No, I sacrificed aspects of my mental health to make sure that I was as perfect as possible.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's really once I started smoking weed. But even then, I don't know. I definitely
I
got
think it's
away.
just the first child, second child, because I think it's a parenting thing. Like when you have your first kid, you're just like, oh my God, we have to do everything by the book. We have to make sure that and then your second kid, you're like, you know what? I've done this before. I know
got
that,
this.
yeah, it's like, I know that I don't have to do X, Y, and Z to make sure that like they're fine. You know, like you're just more relaxed because it's like, oh no, you have the experience. You know what it takes to raise a kid.
Yeah.
So I think for all parents, the second kid, they just loosen the reins a little bit.
For sure. And I also think there might be a boy versus girl component.
Yeah.
Where like
Yeah.
you need to protect the little girl a lot more when
Mhm.
the boy is just like, he scrapes his knee, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Walk it off. Again, same kind of thing we were talking about a little bit ago. Just like walk it off, you pussy. You're fine.
Yeah.
You're fine. Get out there. I didn't really start taking advantage of that until I was like in high school. And then I was just kind of like, oh, all right, I'm doing good enough in school. And honestly, like the only reason why my GPA was, I think I ended up with like, I don't even know, maybe like a 3.2 or something like that. The only reason why I got that was because of music classes. Because I just got straight A's in all my music classes. And then all my other classes, like there were a few that like actually just kind of intrigued me. Like I liked the psychology classes that I took. I liked history. I was good at math, but I also like once we got into trig, I didn't like it as much.
Yeah.
At calculus, I hated. I was like, I'm never.
I didn't even take calculus. I didn't even take trig. I took the bare minimum of math that I needed to, and then I was like, deuces.
I just literally hated being in school. That's more of what, and I think maybe it's because of I went to the Montessori elementary school.
Yeah.
So I was when I went into traditional just public school for 7th and 8th grade,
a really hard
I had such a hard time.
Because I feel like the Montessori style way of doing things is the correct way to educate kids, of like, let their interest guide what they learn about, because then they're going to absorb more. They're going to be more engaged.
They're going to be excited about it.
Yeah. And then they're actually going to want to learn, and you're going to foster that, as opposed to like, here's your thick ass textbook.
Yep.
Read this chapter on your own. Good luck. I hope you absorb the material. And then, by the way, do this homework. And if you don't get it right, tough shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the American school system, if you can't tell.
Right. No, I mean, transitioning from that sort of free form Montessori, where like you built your structure for the day, and you would take your daily planner, bring it to the teacher, and say like, I'm going to do long division from 7 to 8, and then I'm going to read in this book, and then I'm going to work on this science project. It gave you more sort of autonomy and more freedom. And then transitioning out of that into, because like I feel like I had somewhat still do probably have somewhat undiagnosed ADHD or ADD. Like my brain always has some different way that it's going usually, unless like it's either on or it's off. But then going into just like, all right, you sit at this desk and you just listen. Like I'm not an auditory learner. I'm very kinesthetic. I can't absorb information from you just talking at me. I need to be involved in some way. Otherwise it just goes in one ear, and like you're saying something and I'm looking out the window thinking about rocks, and it just didn't jive with me. And I think I kind of just realized pretty quickly that, oh, this is all bullshit. Nobody's actually learning, or nobody's trying to really teach here. This is just a socialized version of daycare to make sure high school kids aren't wandering the streets in packs like wolves. Yeah. So I was just like, oh, this is all bullshit. So I'm just going to take music classes. And there were some that Mr. Worst we took what's it called? Not a free elective, but like personal study or whatever. And Mr. Worst just wouldn't be there. So me and Charlie took it together, and we could just do whatever we want. We usually just went home and either played music or made pizza and played Rock Band or something.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Wirtz was just like, just at the end of the year, just show me what you worked on. And Charlie and I were just in a band anyway, so we just showed him some of the songs that we wrote that year. He's like, all right, cool. You guys get an A. It's like, yeah.
Man, I'm real jealous of that.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
I don't think they offered personal say, or maybe I took the off period.
So we had 7th period off senior year. 6th period was our private study or whatever it was called.
I don't think I had a free study option.
Really?
I had the worst high school experience. If anyone is out there listening and you have the opportunity to start a new high school, don't do it. It really sucks. Go to a regular high school.
One where things are already a little bit figured out.
Yeah. That was the worst. I think the worst part for me was having no upperclassmen, because I'm already, I remember our mom went to my parent teacher conferences in 9th grade, and every teacher was like, she's like having a senior in a class full of freshmen. So like, that's how I felt, but I didn't have any other seniors for my entire high school career. It was awful. I just was like, I was just stuck. It was almost like 4 years in middle school because nobody matured, because there were no upperclassmen to like bop you around and be like, shut up, you're young and stupid, you know?
Totally. And also, by the time I got to high school, I was a freshman when you were a senior. Mm-hmm. At that point, it was such a big school that I had I had some anonymity.
I think you had 900 kids in your graduating class, and I only had 300 something.
Yeah, something like that. But like it ended up turning into just like a giant sea of people in high school. Whereas when you were going through, it was probably more like, oh, you just know everybody, and then every year just like a random new group of people just shows up.
Yeah, and it was so much pressure because it was like, you have to decide the traditions. You have to decide this. You have such a big responsibility. You're going to have a lasting effect on everything that happens in this school, so you better do it right. And it was just like,
which is bullshit, by the way.
I
guarantee you, nobody who's going to Mountain Vista right now is like, man, thank God for that first senior class. They really set the standard for how everything's going. They're just like,
well, that's the thing too, is like anything we tried to do, the faculty was like, no.
Right.
Like senior ditch day, no. Senior prank, no.
Yeah. Yeah, by the time I came through, I think we had senior ditch day. I think they finally let in. I definitely I feel like I had a way easier childhood than you did overall.
I mean, I wouldn't say that you had an easier, I mean, I think younger childhood, I think, maybe I just think that because I was an awful big sister and I was like a complete asshole to you, which I still apologize for to this day. But yeah, I was not a good big sister.
You were at times, but also it was the same kind of thing. Maybe I just wanted us to be friends. You know what I mean? And maybe that's where my sort of desire for everyone to be having fun and having a good time comes from. Because I was just like, let's I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I remember Alex and Austin used to blow my mind.
Because they were like best friends.
You guys like don't fight at all?
Right.
And they were like, no. And I was like, how do you do that? I like the concept was completely lost on me. And sometimes some of it I think was like displaced aggression. I think it was just like you were the only human in the household that was technically like lower on the totem pole than I was. And so you were just the only outlet that I had.
I definitely was a shithead at times though, for sure. For sure. I knew how to poke your buttons. I figured that out pretty quickly.
Did you leave the seat up on purpose?
No, honestly, I didn't. No. It was literally all that was just oblivious.
Okay.
All that was oblivious, and you would come storming into my room and make me go put the seat down.
So that was me. This is how I know that I needed to be a trainer, because that was me, in high school, trying to apply the principles of operant conditioning.
Yeah, being like,
so if if I make him get up and put the seat down every time
He will
I
learn.
see that up, maybe that will be aversive enough. Obviously, this is like completely incorrect interpretation of operant conditioning, but that's what I was trying to go with. I was trying to think of like, all right, what's the antecedent? What's the consequence? Like, or like, what's the behavior? What's the consequence? And I was trying to literally train you.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Like if I make it so inconvenient for him every time he does it, then
surely
eventually the behavior will stop. But literally it was me just like, I would pee and then I would just go like, all right, I'm done in here. That's all I got to do. And I would just walk away. Like I was completely oblivious. And then Dad gave me a point because I remember complaining to Dad and going like, Brigid gets so mad when I leave the seat up and I'm like, I'm not trying to, like, I try to remember to put it down, but like, I don't know. And he was just like, if it's making you that mad, here's a trick. Put both seats down. And this way, she is still just as inconvenienced as she was having to put the regular seat down, but she can't say anything to you because now you are putting the seat down. I was like, that's fucking genius, Dad. Oh, this is how I'm gonna get back to her for all those years. And then I started just like every time I like made a mental note, like, no, put both seats down because it's still inconvenient.
Like, fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck
just
you.
like, I'll show you, Brigid. I'm still gonna inconvenience you, but you can't say anything about it now. But again, that was also Dad doing his psychology thing and just like, okay, yeah. I remember one time when I was definitely a pretty shitty brother. When I got my Les Paul, that gold top guitar, like that was my baby. And for the longest time when I had it, it was I touched it, Jim McClung touched it, and Charlie touched it, and like played it. And those are the only people I was like so protective of that guitar because I wanted to keep it pristine. Now I'm mad at myself because I wish I beat it up because it looks way cooler when guitars are beat the fuck up. But I remember I walked into the living room and you were sitting on the chair and you were just like playing my Les Paul and I lost my shit. I freaked out and like ran over and grabbed it from you. Just like, don't you ever fucking touch my guitar ever again. And I was so mad. And
I do not remember that either.
I remember it vividly because it was very traumatic. And
I'm very sorry.
No, I'm over it now. Because like I don't know, I just have that. I still have sentimental value for that guitar.
Yeah, I mean that was your first one.
It wasn't my first one. I got the Rogue Acoustic on my like 12th birthday, and then actually I have both of those guitars in the room right now. Hold on.
Did you learn guitar? Did you learn guitar first or did you learn drums first?
What's that?
Did you learn guitar first or drums first?
Drums first.
That's what I thought because Dad played the drums, so you wanted to play drums because Dad played them.
Yeah, I always wanted to play drums, and then I heard Clapton, and I was like, I kind of want to play guitar now, guys. But yeah, this was my first electric that me and Ryan Flanders sanded down and like repainted. I still have it just because like I think it looks cool, and like all these scratch marks are all like intentional. Like I put those in on purpose, just like it's not actual wear and tear. But like that's $100 PV, and then the Les Paul was like $1,200-$1,300.
Okay.
And I split that with Mom and Dad, and I saved up for years.
Yeah.
To get that guitar, and I think that's what it was. Is like I spent years saving for that guitar because I wanted to be Jimmy Page in Led Zeppelin, and I wanted my strap to be super long so my guitar was down by my knees. I was very protective of that guitar for very long.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. Dad didn't really have that with anything except for maybe like the Targa.
That, what do you mean that like?
That sentimental
or sentimental.
Yeah, that sort of sentimental value. Like Dad just collected a lot of shit.
Yeah. I think what's interesting is like a lot of the stuff that he collected was memorabilia from his childhood.
Ooh, interesting.
So I think he was searching for something that he did not have in adulthood.
That's a very astute point.
You know, like I think that people who like hang on to their class rings and Letterman jackets, like I think they hearken, like they yearn for something that they felt they had in high school or whatever time period of the thing that they're keeping.
Those were, I think with high school, a lot of the people that keep that stuff, that's more sort of like those are their glory days and they want to hang on to sort of that moment. Where I think,
and maybe, like, you know, and like I said, we don't really know much about Dad's life, but I think the time period in general, like, you know, I think everyone feels this way of like, oh, things were so much simpler when I was a kid. And it's like, well, were they simpler, or could you just not perceive the complexities of the world at the time?
Yeah, but also cut to us at the beginning of this podcast talking about like these young kids and their internet. They don't know what's going on. When we grew up, yeah.
Well, and we are the generation. We are the last generation to remember what life is like without technology.
And my distinction is without the internet prevalent.
Yeah, I remember I had a project in 6th grade. Jamie and I were doing a project on tuberculosis, and I had to learn about tuberculosis. And I remember Linda, our next door neighbor, was like, "Oh yeah, just look it up on the internet." And I was like,
"What?
I don't know how to do that." And it like scared me. I was like, I don't know where the internet is. I don't know what it does. How does it know about tuberculosis? Like, what do I do?
What is this internet, and how may I find it?
Can I buy one?
We had the internet fairly early, I feel like.
Well,
yeah, most families, but we just never.
Well, because Dad worked in the tech world,
exactly.
So I think we had computers. I don't remember not having a computer growing up. Because I don't even know if you remember the old house in Westminster, but he had his own office with an IBM or an Apple, like a Macintosh, something like that. So yeah, we always had, and I think he got us our own email addresses really early. Like, why do I need an email address in 4th grade?
Right.
No, none of my friends have email.
Yeah. I don't remember having an email. I vaguely remember that. But yeah, we definitely were like kind of the last generation of, I feel like I was a little bit more of kind of a latchkey kid as like a younger kid, because I had all the friends on the block to go ride bikes with and go, you know, play street hockey
we would go out in the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
And we would play outside in the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, and you and Jacqueline.
Yeah. Or me and Fiona.
Yep.
Yeah, you would just go to other kids' houses and you would just like literally play with them in the street or like in their basement,
or
you know, wherever.
Go in the Greenbelt and look for snakes and lizards.
Ugh, that I did not do.
I remember I used to play Crocodile Hunter. And just run around and pretending I was Steve Irwin and just going like, crikey, we got a big lizard here.
Man, miss that guy.
He was the best.
He was great.
Yeah. Yeah, but like today's kids, they're never going to sort of experience that. And like the freedom of just like, the rule was when the street light comes on, you got to be at home.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. And even then, like if they knew that I was just playing roller hockey in the streets, we would play until it was so dark that we literally couldn't see the bright orange ball.
Yeah.
In the street in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
And now kids are never going to get that ever again. I feel bad for this coming generation.
I just think about how exhausting it is having a cell phone and like how invasive it is at times, of like to get a text message at any fucking moment, like whether I'm ready for it or not, whether I have the bandwidth to reply. And it's just Darren describes it as like someone just poking you, like every time, just being like, hey, hey, pay attention to me.
Yeah. And especially with someone
and to not like, I just like, you know, that freedom as a kid of like having, you know, and I get it. Kids these days, like they want the phones, but I'm just like, man, childhood was pretty sweet without one.
Oh, it was great. I don't think either of us got a phone until we were able to drive.
No, I remember before I would drive, Mom had a little Nokia And I would get the Nokia when I was at the mall with my friends so that I could call her and tell her to come pick us up.
Yeah.
I also really miss Nokias. Snake was the best game.
I was about to say, I wanted Dad's old phone, the old school Sprint Nokia flip phone, just for Snake. That's the
I
only thing
just want to play
about.
Snake. Can we bring Snake back, please? Is there someone that can do this?
I'm sure there's an app for Snake.
Well, and Dee's talked about how he really misses T9 texting because he was so much faster at it because he didn't have to look at a keyboard, that he could just like tap, tap, tap a certain number of times and know exactly what letters he was punching in.
Texting in class, like underneath the desk or to the side of the desk where the teacher
you don't even have to look. You're just like tap, 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 tap.
You would just make eye contact and still keep listening. And then really you're just like having a conversation.
Although I never texted in class because I could never. The fear of getting caught was too much for me.
I think I texted then more than I'm inclined to text now. Like, all my friends now know that for me, texting is purely just information based.
Yeah.
It's like, where are we meeting? What time? Cool. Sounds good. Conversations over text, I'm just like, no. If you're sending,
well, it's hard too. There are so many context clues that are left out in just text.
What is it? 90% of communication is nonverbal.
Something like that.
Something like that. So the inflection in your voice, like your body position, your hand movements. Yeah. So that's why, like, my friends know that just like, if you really need something from me or if you need a timely response, you got to call me. Yeah. Sometimes I'll just see the text and just go like, that's not real. That's in text. That's not a real thing. I don't need to deal with this problem because I don't. But then if you call me and it's just like, I will either answer if I can, or I will call you immediately back as soon as I can.
And it is kind of interesting that Dad sort of like introduced us to technology so early in our lives. Because I think he saw, I mean, working for Oracle, I think he saw like more of the potential of like what it could do or what it could offer. Or maybe he saw like down the road, he was like, oh no, this internet's going to be everything. I might as well like teach my kids email now.
I mean, going back to the cell phone thing and like the data mining is like, nobody for the most part knows. There's like a small handful of elite people that understand how that stuff actually works. Yeah. Like,
it's funny. We'll still get people at work who are hesitant to send us like certain documentation that we need. And I want to be like, y'all, they have everything. Like,
if it's
they have it all.
If it's on your computer, it's accessible.
Yeah.
But then also, I don't. And then it's funny, like the conspiracy theorists, like, oh, they're putting microchips into the vaccine to track you. They're putting microchips in there. No,
you have a phone in your pocket, dude.
You have a microchip with you at all times.
You have a microphone and camera on you at all times. Yep. Like, shut up.
And guess what? You paid $1,000 for the luxury of being microchipped. So thank you, capitalism.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's just like, yo, dude, it's all out there. We live in the world where there's no more privacy. It's almost like a covert kind of Orwellian nightmare.
Have you ever watched Black Mirror on Netflix? Okay. I was told very graciously by someone to skip the first episode, so I did.
Oh, yeah. Definitely skip the first episode.
Yeah.
Actually,
but so I was told the one that I watched that was like really impactful was the one, oh man, what's that redheaded girl? I don't think it's Christina Hendricks. It might be her. It might be the other girl that looks like her. Anyway, the one where it's like every interaction you have with a person is rated. Score? Yes.
Yep.
And it's like that just hit real close to home. I was like, ooh, we are walking a fine line with this now, aren't we?
Well, I mean, look at China. Look at China. China already has the social score, and we need to worry about China. But that's basically the system that they have is like you have a social credit score, and everything you do and everything's monitored, and that's kind of what social media has kind of become.
Yeah.
Facebook. everyone posts everywhere that they're at. Not so much anymore, but when Facebook was like first becoming a thing, everyone was just posting absolutely everything on there.
Yes.
And then we find out.
To this day, I am still like, I'll think of something and I'll be like, does the world really need to know that? Do I really need to put that out there? I don't think so.
Yeah. No, and it's so, yeah, exactly. And just the ego of the people that I see that are just posting everything they're doing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's an ego
thing. And I think a lot of that is insecurity, because obviously everyone projects
what they want you to see.
Yeah, and it's like they try to alter their own story to fit the narrative that they want.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Everything is curated to making you create your own life on the internet. You choose what the world gets to see.
Yeah, I remember when Facebook introduced the timeline, because it used to just be the wall, right? And you could post on someone's wall, or you could write on their wall. Yeah, and then it became a timeline, and you could literally add life events. It was the most, I remember when it first came out, and I was just like, well, I might as well just do this. And I put like so many, I took the time to put life events on my Facebook page. And I finally was like, they didn't check. I could completely lie and put any life event that I wanted.
Right.
But it was just like, wow, I don't need to, no one needs to know all of this.
No. And honestly,
the only thing you put on Facebook is so that like crazy exes can stalk you. Like,
I was actually about to bring up, so apparently there's like a rise in stalker behavior in millennials. And I think that Facebook and like social media have exacerbated that.
Oh, of course.
Now it, like, I mean, if you were a stalker in like the 90s, you had to do some work to do the stalking. You had to be going digging through trash.
You had to cut letters out of magazines.
Yeah, you had to look for a bill inside of a trash can and figure out.
Very labor intensive.
Yeah, and then nowadays it's just like, I mean, I don't know how. I mean, everyone just puts it out there and just offers it to the whole world. Mm-hmm. Like, do you know how many lunatics are out there?
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I've never gotten into Twitter. Because Twitter is so overwhelming. Like, at least Instagram and Facebook have some visuals that break up. I mean, I guess Twitter, you can post photos now. But I just remember when Twitter first came out, you could not post photos. So you would log into Twitter, and it was nothing but text. Yeah. And just like, oh my gosh. It was literally everyone's 140 character thoughts.
Yeah, and it's only gotten worse on Twitter. Twitter is a cesspool nowadays.
Oh, I don't like, the only reason I joined Twitter was Stephen Colbert did something where, like, if you retweeted one of his tweets, he would donate $1 to like some cause at the time. I don't remember if it was like an earthquake or whatever, but so I joined Twitter specifically so that I could retweet the tweet.
And then never again.
Yeah. And then I think I tried to keep up with it, and I was just like, I can't do this. This is not fun.
Yeah.
Well, but now it's like, it's where people get their news is from Twitter.
Yeah. Well, and the news of their specific echo chamber that they have chosen to sort of, the people that they've chosen to follow. And then, the algorithm. You should really watch The Social Dilemma, because it really talks about, all this stuff and how the algorithm is working against you. And they'll just, I mean, everything is designed, like everything on the internet, even just the way that Netflix, as soon as the first episode of a show is going, it's 5 seconds later,
to keep you sucked in.
Exactly. It just wants your eyeballs, and it wants your attention. It wants your clicks. And it is very, like, I don't know, we're moving into the world of that sort of like 1984.
We're moving into the Matrix.
Oh yeah, totally. Oh,
like we're about to get just like hooked up.
We might already be there.
Maybe.
Elon Musk is a firm believer. I mean, so statistically, it's more likely that we're in a simulation already than we're not.
So what do you mean statistically? Where do those statistics? Where does the data come?
I don't. This is me just regurgitating other people's stuff, but from what I gather, like, I mean, given enough time and giving enough time for an adequate amount of technological progression, any culture would eventually get to the point where they could create a simulation that's indistinguishable from reality, given enough time.
Okay.
So basically, it's the same kind of idea as, like, statistically, it's basically guaranteed that there are aliens.
Yes.
Somewhere.
Because of the large probability and the universe, and yeah.
If the universe truly is infinite, then if it's truly infinite, then everything has happened an infinite number of times.
Yes.
So there would be alien life forms. And so if there's an infinite number of possibilities of worlds and growth in technology, there's also the probability of some sentient being being able to create the simulation that's indistinguishable from real life. So
okay, well, this like little simulation is pretty shitty. So if we could like dial back on some of the the events that have happened, if we could rewrite that code, I would really appreciate it.
I honestly kept saying that all throughout 2020. Is just like, guys, I think the simulation is fucking broken.
Yeah,
I think there's a flux capacitor. Yeah, there's a flux capacitor missing. We got fuel rods shooting out the bonnet.
We need to make a Jira.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of really intelligent people that think it's much more probable, because like the only reason why we wouldn't be in a simulation is if we are the first species within the entire universe to get to the level where we could make one. And statistically, that would be highly improbable.
Would you take the red pill or the blue pill?
Which one's which again? Blue pill takes you out, lets you live in the real world, or is the red one?
I believe so. And I believe the red pill keeps it. Well, let's just say for all intents and purposes right now.
Right now,
the red pill keeps you in the matrix and the blue pill frees you. What do you do?
Depends on the day, I guess. If I'm having a shitty day, I might be like, "Hey, get the fuck out of here." I don't know. It's the same thing like if an alien spaceship landed on your front lawn and said, "Come with us." Do you go with the aliens or you stay here? And also, you have to think about.
Do I have to go by myself?
I don't know. I mean, if we're doing like the Matrix idea, then yeah. Because Neo doesn't get.
The thing is, like, I don't know.
The only reason why, if it is the Matrix scenario, the only reason why I wouldn't do it, or I mean the alien scenario, is first of all that would crush Mom.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing that I was thinking about is like I have so many connections here.
Yeah.
Of people that I love, I could not just up and leave. But then the Matrix is different because then it's like technically these connections are false,
right?
And they're not real, and they're just a simulation. So then, like, why am I clinging to?
I mean, that also gets philosophical, and I guess it's almost like Descartes. Like, I think therefore I am. Reality is essentially created in your brain, so this could easily already be a dream.
I think the statistics is like 90% of your thoughts have to do with either the past or the future. And only 10% of your thoughts are in the present, which is literally the only bit of life that you are actually living.
Yeah. Because the past doesn't exist because it already happened.
And the future
doesn't exist because it's not there yet.
Yeah.
So all you have is just now. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I would maybe. I think I would be too curious, especially if it was like aliens. Like, I mean, I'm picturing like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Where you can just hop on this crazy spaceship and go have adventures.
All the dolphins go with you.
Me up. That sounds great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Because also, like, I like my life, but it's not that thrilling and it's not that exciting. Whereas going on,
I don't think anyone's life is that thrilling and exciting right now.
Yeah,
But
No.
it's also about, I think it's about kind of finding moments in the mundane, where I heard a quote recently that was like, don't strive for a happy life, because happiness is fleeting. Strive for a satisfied life, because satisfaction implies that, like, a sense of fulfillment.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Well, it's like happiness is just an emotion.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I'm going to fight to not be sad. It's like, well, sometimes you're going to get sad.
Yeah.
Also, we're going to have a war on terror. People are still scared.
Yeah.
I think your whole war kind of backfired a little bit on the whole war on terror. So it's like, yeah, you can't strive to be in one emotional state all the time. And also, I know people that are seemingly just happy-go-lucky all the time. They're the most boring people I know. Like, what do you do?
Well, yeah, because it's like, it's like that South Park episode where Butters is dating the Raisins girl, and she breaks up with him, and he's crying on the street, and Stan's already joined the goth kids, and he comes over to Butters crying, and they're like, oh, you should, like, life is nothing but pain. And they try to get Butters to join him, and Butters is like, no, I'm okay with being sad, because it means that I was really happy at one point.
Butters, he might replace Descartes as the number one philosopher ever. It's genius. No, yeah, exactly. Like, one of my friends says a lot, variety is the spice of life. And that comes with, like, emotions too. Like, yeah, if you're just happy all the time, you ain't got no spice in there.
Yeah.
Throw a little cayenne in the dish and see what happens.
Yeah. And that was something that I had to learn when I was going through my depression, is like, my big bout when I was in high school, it was sort of like, I just want to be happy. I just want to be happy. And I had to learn, like, oh no, like, the point of this is not to never feel sad again and to only feel happy. The point of this is to be able to, like you say, like, ride the wave of the sadness and know that the wave will ebb and flow.
Yeah.
And that there will be other things at other times.
Yeah, totally. Well, and like, yeah. How much fun is the ocean if it's just perfectly still and nothing's moving on it? It's kind of boring unless you have a jet ski, and then it's probably pretty cool. But when you start having fun is when you kind of let the waves kind of take over and sort of push you around, and you kind of feel the current and feel the flow.
Yeah, when you learn what the waves are doing,
and
then you can adapt, and you can have so much more fun, as opposed to resisting or, like, not, it's just like, even just walking into the water, if you don't duck under the wave, or if you don't jump with the wave, you're gonna get smacked and you're gonna get taken out.
Which also, the videos of people doing that is hilarious.
Dude.
People who just, like, Instagram models, I'm sure you see a bunch of it in San Diego, but Instagram models, like, trying to take a sexy picture, like, right in front of the waves, and then it just, a rogue big one comes and just takes them out. Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
I also love that. That was one of Darren's favorite things, because when he would be at Magic's, like, Magic's has pretty solid waves, but it would, obviously there would be times in between sets. And so a set would finish, and, like, this like, group of tourists would roll up, and, like, here's, like, nice calm water, and then they get in, and then here comes the next set. And Darren would just be like, okay, and just watch these people get worked.
Yeah. That's the best, when somebody's about to just eat their shit and you're just like, because you get that little moment of, like, superiority almost, where you can go, like, hey, guys, watch this, trust me, watch this is gonna be awesome. And then you actually see it go down, you're just like, I fucking called it, that was so good. You get to really sit and sort of savor and appreciate the moment.
Yeah, like, something about being able to identify a kook.
Like, like, kooks
from
and
far away.
Kooks and Jerry's are easy to spot.
Yeah, it's true.
And it's, I'm just reminiscing about all the times I've watched Jerry's on the hill just not know what they're doing and get themselves in way too deep.
I don't even know how many people Darren has pulled out of the water just because he happened to be in the water when the people were getting out of hand. So he was like, well, it's going to take me less time to save them than it will the lifeguard to get out here and take them back. So
just the reluctant hero, just, all right.
Damn it.
Here I come to save the day.
Exactly.
I mean, that's good though. I mean, like, I'd be a little bit more concerned if he was just like, fuck it, let him drown.
I know.
Let him drown.
Well, and that was something that I always thought was super cool about Dad, was the fact that he was on the auxiliary firefighting team.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, did you know that he, like, saved a dude's life once?
On Christmas.
Oh, I forgot that it was on Christmas. Yeah, he brought someone back with CPR on Christmas.
Yep. I think Mom told me, because Dad would never actually verbally explain this, but Mom told me, like, years later, like, he said that was the best Christmas gift that he had ever gotten. I was like, damn, that's real shit.
Yeah. No, that's good.
And that's another way that, like, I mean, that's another example of, like, I don't know. Our dad was very loving and very kind. And even, like, even though he wasn't able to express his love, but, like, you could even tell, like, when we first got Sebastian, or not Sebastian, when we first got Quiche.
Quiche, yeah.
And he sat on the ground, crisscross applesauce, for like 3 hours.
Ow. Yeah.
Trying to get Quiche to feel comfortable enough to get out of the crate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, he's definitely, his love language was more just like showing how much he cared, not necessarily explaining it in so many words.
No, he was not big on the verbal.
No, I mean, did you read the book that he wrote? It was, I didn't understand a goddamn word. It was all about this computer nonsense. No, I know.
You know, and that's what's probably the stupidest thing about writing a book about software is, like, literally the next year it will be outdated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
totally.
I just think about the amount of work, because that consumed his life for so long, writing that
for
damn
years.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mom was real sick of that too.
Right. And then, yeah.
Although
exactly.
I did love the dedication.
I don't remember what it said.
Oh my God, for real. I can't even remember it either. Damn it. Okay. Well, I just remember I really liked it, and now I'm going to have to go back and reread it because I feel like an idiot because I can't remember it. But
I'm sure
because it mentioned all of us.
I remember vaguely that it mentioned us.
Yeah.
I just don't remember what it said. I'm sure Mom has a copy of the book somewhere.
I have a photo of the dedication. I just am currently on my phone, so
fair enough.
Can't pull it up.
Fair enough. Yeah, that is really funny though. Like, you spend years writing, but probably the stuff that they started writing, by the time they finished writing the book, was already obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and especially, could you imagine, like, trying to write a textbook about, like, today's technology with how quickly it changes now?
Yeah. Well, and, like, you know, he and Tim, like, tried really hard to make it really engaging. Like, they found different quotes from different, like, movies to kind of start the chapters out and kind of set up the learning objective or whatever. Like, they tried really hard.
Frank Herbert at the beginning of every chapter in Dune has, like, a little quote from, like, another, you know, fictional text or whatever. So maybe he pulled that from there. That's one thing I am grateful for, is, like, he definitely got us into books. Like,
yeah, and I think he also, just because of his love for books and learning and knowledge, I think he set like, I think we started off on a really solid foot as far as, like, even just linguistic skills as kids. Like, I think we were very articulate kids. I think that I just, you know, I think that was something, just his pure kind of love of learning and knowledge. Like, granted, we hated school, but I think it's because we hated the institution of school.
Yeah.
We didn't necessarily hate learning things.
No, absolutely. Like, I still love learning things. You know, it's learning is just, I mean, it's not even learning, it's progressing. It's discovering new things.
Yeah, like what is the point of life if you're not going to literally learn anything for the rest of your life? If you're like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay right where I am.
I've got all the information I need.
Yeah.
I'm done. But it's, the thing of like, I don't want to be told what to learn. I want to be able to explore my own curiosities. And school is like, nope, you sit down and you learn this and you learn this. And for the most part, you're not even learning it. You're just remembering it long enough to use it on the test.
Oh, exactly. You're just
like,
regurgitating it.
Yeah. No, and honestly, that one size fits like 2 people in the class of 30 kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not even one size fits all. It's like one size fits like 15%. And then the rest of them either figure it out or you're screwed.
Well, and that's the other hard thing with being labeled gifted and talented is then when it's not your learning style or it's not a subject that you excel in, then suddenly you're less than.
Yeah.
You know, and in particular for me, because I was put in that gifted and talented group so early, I always felt like the dumb one of my friends. Because, like, you know, I hung out with Emily and I hung out with Alex and they just excelled in school. And it was like, I'm watching them just like stroke right past me and I'm just trying to keep my head above water.
Yeah. See, that was your first mistake. You made friends with other smart people. In high school, I had a lot of
that was my only social circle.
Yeah. I think the fact that I sort of not even got the freedom, but I figured out how to sneak being able to party more in high school. And like, you know, I started smoking. I think I was 15 when I first started smoking weed.
I didn't get invited to any parties. There were parties. No one wanted me there.
So that's why I think I developed a sense of humor. Is I would just be the funny one. And I didn't get invited to the cool parties. It was usually the parties like I didn't get invited to like I was not even remotely friends. I was with the burnout group.
Yeah.
So we weren't going to like the cool fucking parties or whatever. Mm-hmm. We were just like, all right, let's get a case of beer and we'll have 30 people in Alex's basement and we'll just get really high.
I guess that was really interesting about being the first class. Like, yes, we had those like little cliques of like, the burnout group, the jocks or whatever, but like also not really. Like things were still kind of really blurred at that point. There weren't clear delineations of groups that you could like identify with and then, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
It was weird.
Yeah. No, like I was definitely the smartest burnout for the group. Even though I don't consider myself
the most intact neurons.
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't even like a burnout. Like I wasn't partying super hard. I only got like, I remember there was one time where I was properly hungover on the couch the next morning. But for the most part,
high school?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, it was probably like junior year and I'd snuck out.
Oh, so I don't think I was around at that point.
Yeah,
or maybe
I don't think so.
I might have been home by that time.
Maybe.
Because I was at Metro for my sophomore year.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't remember exactly when it was, but I just remember I was face down on the couch for like the whole day. And mom and dad never came and said anything. I mean, they like, what's going on? I was just like, I'm sick. And I think they just knew that I just got really drunk the night before and just in their head, they just went like, no, let him sit with this.
Yeah.
This is his punishment.
Yes. Reap the benefits of your actions.
Exactly. Actions have consequences. And guess what?
Yeah.
You made the choice to go out and get drunk last night. You're going to suffer with your fucking hangover.
I mean, everyone's allowed some idiocy in their high school and college years. Like, that's permissible.
It's permissible. And honestly, I think it's something that you should embrace.
Yeah, that's true. That goes back to like the idea of like failure of like, no, you need to be okay with that. Like, you need to be okay with messing up. You need to be okay with not knowing something and having to learn it.
Yeah. And learning how to not like beat yourself up about it.
Mm-hmm.
And like really the way I think about it is like learning how to just laugh at yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, and I know so many people that like they think they're so cool, or they act so cool that they're just afraid to embarrass themselves in any way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, yeah, you're missing half the fun.
Yeah.
Like, I laugh at myself constantly when I do dumb stuff. I think it's hilarious, and you
Because
should
it's
too.
like, if you didn't laugh, you'd cry. Just laugh.
Oh, exactly. And I think that's definitely a lot of our family dynamic is just like, oh, suicide. Okay, we're gonna be sad for a while, but then pretty quickly we're gonna start making some fucking suicide jokes.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know, maybe it's a way of healing.
Yeah, I think it's partially a coping mechanism, and I think also it's a way of just like releasing.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, because when you're laughing about something, not only are you like feeling good about it, but like, I don't know, there's just some sort of like communal acknowledgement in that kind of humor, you know?
Totally. And also just noticing the funny things of, okay, so I watched Charlie's Place while he was at a wedding in California. And then, Jim came home, his dad, and because he came to his house to finish watching the place because he was going to be gone for like 5 or 6 days. I was like, Charlie, I don't really want to stay up here that long.
Mm-hmm.
And so Jim came and sort of, swapped out duties with me to watch the dogs. And then we're like talking for a little while, and we start talking about music and something about playing drums. It's like, oh yeah, no, I've got my drum set up at my jam space, yada yada. And he's like, somehow I was like, oh yeah, no, it's my dad's old kit. And Jim just goes, oh yeah, how is your dad? And
you're like, well,
basically I said, I haven't checked in a while, but I'm pretty sure he's doing about the same. And then he picked up on it. He was like, oh my God, I was just like, I haven't checked in on him in a while, but pretty sure still just kind of fully dead. And Jim was just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was like, it's okay. I haven't seen you in years. Like, it's no big deal. But he was like mortified that he said that. He's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's like, it's been almost a decade. I'm fine with you making a mistake.
Well, I think our jokes are off-putting for people because like, first off, it's like, this is something that is like a tragedy. So shouldn't we be sad about it and not laughing about it? But then also I think it's, my therapist has pointed out that I talk about Dad's death in a very detached way. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, well, yeah, of course I do, because I have to make sure that everyone else in the room is comfortable.
Yep, exactly. Diffuse the tension.
Because like, we want to talk about suicide because we do want to reduce the stigma. We don't want it to be, that's why we say died by suicide and not committed by suicide, because it's not a crime. We shouldn't be demonizing it. And so,
even just the word suicide, very similar to homicide.
Yeah. Well, I think
infanticide.
That's a grammar thing.
Well, yeah, it is, but still, like,
oh yeah,
it's part of the subtext that's in there that sort of makes you think, oh yeah, this is a criminal act.
Totally. And it's like, so if I'm going to talk about suicide, but I'm going to break down and cry every time, that's only going to make everyone else feel uncomfortable and be like, oh shit, I do not want to talk about suicide. That was really awkward. So it's like,
you don't end up getting what the message you want to put out there actually is, because nobody wants to listen to a crying lady.
Exactly. So it's like, I always have to make sure that everyone knows that I'm okay so that they can hear what I'm trying to tell them.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like I do the same thing with sort of like self-deprecating humor. If I do screw up, make a joke about it so people understand that it's not that big of a deal to me, or just like, even not a mistake, but like, I'm going to make fun of myself for the things that I'm insecure about before you guys even get a chance.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to diffuse the potential tension, because like, oh, I don't want people to think this about me. And then you just walk in and go like, yeah, fucking, this is what's it. And yeah, it's the same thing with like, so many times, like, friends, like, it usually happens when we've like been drinking a little bit, and you can tell like somebody that you've known for a little while, and like they know that your dad died, and you can tell that they're about to ask, so how did your dad die? I mean, if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to.
Yeah.
And like people, you can feel their sort of timidness and their sort of awkwardness coming into it. And if you can just make a joke and just kind of lighten that tension a little bit, then it makes it like a little bit easier for, carrying out the conversation, as opposed to just being like, I really don't want to talk about it right now.
Yeah.
Like you can have those moments.
And it actually surprised me. We call it the DDC, the Dead Dad Club. Like there are a lot of members of the Dead Dad Club, not necessarily like by the same means perhaps, but like, I think it's just this stuff is kind of more common than a lot of people think. Yeah. And that's why you want to talk about it more. Yeah. Because when you share that story, you're then letting another person know, like, oh, there is someone who's going through the exact same thing or has gone through the exact same thing. Therefore, you can too. Like, this is all. Well,
it's almost kind of like, I don't know if you'd call it a trend, but something that was going along, and I think it still is, but talking to like gay high school kids, and it gets better. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like what you're saying. So like if somebody's going through it, and or if they're dealing with, coming out or anything like that, or if like they just had a suicide in their family, letting them know like, yeah, it sucks. It's not fun. Yeah. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It fucking sucks, but it gets better. Yeah. Like it's
and that's what, oh gosh, who was I talking, or I think I was watching an interview with Olivia Munn and Demi Lovato, and they were talking, and Olivia Munn was saying like, I have had so many good days since the day that I wanted to kill myself. And so had I made that decision, there would be so many good days that I did not have, because you don't get a redo. Like that's not something you start over on. Tyrion
Lannister in Game of Thrones. Death is so boring, whereas life is full of possibilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even there's a quote in not Ender's Game, Ender's Shadow, I think, where, people, it was something along the lines of like, people who die by suicide are only trying to hide. And it's like, ah, damn it, I'm messing up the quote. I'm gonna have to look it up again. I have the worst memory. I don't know. But it was a very good quote about like just the idea of, no, that's the point is to live. The point is to go on. Yeah. And don't hide, don't quit. You keep going, because that is ultimately what makes it worth it. Yeah. Yeah. Keep riding that wave. Mm-hmm. Some days the ocean's going to be flat. Some days it's going to be, 10-foot swells, bro. Yeah. Shocking, dude. But yeah, if you get off the surfboard, so like, let's say the ocean is life, the beach is, whatever happens after death. If you get off the surfboard and you paddle in, you get off the surfboard and you go walk onto the beach, all those waves that are coming down the way, you're not going to get a chance to ride those. And that might be the sickest left of your life. All right. That seems like about as good of a time to cut part one as any. We have plenty more conversation to go, sort of delving into what it's like to be sort of the survivor of somebody who dies by suicide in your family or in your sort of close-knit group of people that you care about and love. It's something that doesn't get talked about enough in the media, I don't think. So having like a really long, in-depth conversation with two people that were greatly affected by it, I think is something that a lot of people can benefit from. So be on the lookout for part 2, maybe even part 3. I don't know. But yeah, if you made it this far in the video, thank you. You guys are awesome. Please continue to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow us on the media, all that nonsense you have to say about the podcast. But other than that, we're just going to catch you guys next week.
New episodes are dropping every Wednesday, so be on the lookout.